I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I see that all members are present. Duly noted. Our first item up is to recognize any members of the community who would like to address the commission. There is no one present here in the room. Is there anyone online that would like to address the commission? You can use the raise your hand feature, I think, to mention there. Seeing none, then we will move on to review and approval of the minutes. We have before us the minutes from the April 8th, 2025 meeting. Mr. Bartz.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
That was,
All
all right, Mr. Thompson. Moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have 3 items of business this evening. The first is to review and take possible action for sidewalk repair orders for 514 North Water Street, 415 North 6th Street, and 1508 Doctors Court. And you had in your packets the documentation for each of those sites. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
So we're out of batteries. Can you all hear it? You speaking?
Yes.
Yep.
Richie Phillips has handled this one from our engineer. Richie, I'll turn it over to you to give a bit of background.
First location, 514 North Water Street. Was brought to our attention by the property owner. For the sidewalk to be marked. The one at 415 North 6th Street. Was discovered when removing a city tree at this location. 1508 Doctors Court. The damaged sidewalk was discovered when inspecting a small street repair location at that location.
Right. Any comments or questions from commission members? Very straightforward. I'm sure you've seen them before.
I guess there's a question if it's a city tree wrecking the sidewalk, is it a property owner expense continuing typically?
Getting to the root of the issue, but yes. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve taking the action recommended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Bartz. All right. Comments or questions on the motion to again approve the recommendation? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is review and take possible action, award the rebidding of Plaza Phase 2 ADA concrete ramp improvements contract number 10-25, alternate bid B to Moz Brothers Construction Company, Inc. for $145,170. Over to staff for explanation.
First bidding was done in February with all the annual projects. At that time, we did not receive any bids. We went back to the design engineer. Changed the bidding a little bit to offer 3 options. First option was to build the ramp, use split place block. Second option was to use cast in place concrete, using form liners of either like a rock or a brick concrete. Third option was to pour cast in place concrete with just a brush finish. Haas Brothers Construction was the low bidder. All three bids are under or within. They're recommending, has in place, wall with the form liners. A or rock finish to the wall.
All right, comments or questions from commission members?
Just one question. I noticed it was noted that it did come in under budget. What was the budgeted amount?
1,000 in the seawall account for this project.
That number, there was some $10 approval for this project, so I think we were up with.
That's what I thought, so it threw me off, because I thought I remember seeing the 400 number, and like, this is way lower than 400. Not used to that.
We bid it a couple of years ago and we were way over budget.
Okay.
So we were surprised pleasantly by the bid results. But that $450,000 amount was based on our design engineer's recommendation. That's what was approved in the 25.
And Moss Brothers is, they are local subcontractors.
Okay.
Walsh Masonry. West Electric.
All right, other comments or questions, commission members, please.
Sorry, I know I said one question, but
Right.
the seawall fund implying that fund also funds other things. Is there anything that is earmarked for or any other projects planned coming from that fund in the near future, or is that fund specifically for this project and then we would roll it into a different fund for next year?
Projects. That account was created a couple of years ago and it alternates planning and design 1 year with construction following. So right now we're working through planning and design. Construction next year, that might move up depending how design moves this year.
Okay.
Outside of this one.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions?
Why did you select alternative B over the other two alternatives?
Alternative B is a cast in place concrete, less modern, less maintenance than the split block wall. And then form liners. Stone. Possibly can change on the concrete to match the. And then seal it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, other questions? Thompson?
None of this work is in the water though, right?
Correct.
It's
So
upstream.
up on top.
Yeah.
Half on the plaza and then the lower half of the ramp. South First Street parking lot.
All right, any other questions on this? If not, I will entertain a motion to award the bid.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Seconded. Mr. Thompson, comments or questions on the motion? Again, the motion is to approve the alternate bid B to Moss Brothers. Hearing none. I'm gonna take a roll call vote on this one because of the size. All right, Mr. Blanky,
Aye.
Schwartz.
Aye.
Thompson,
Aye.
Mr. Moldenauer,
Aye.
and Mr. Arnett is yes, so that's 5 yes, the motion carries. Brings us to our last item for this evening. Review and take possible action awarding of a bid for 2025 private lead service line project. bid to be awarded potentially to Five Star Energy LLC. Take it away.
First, I want to apologize for the very late addition to the agenda. That's not how we normally do things. But we got a call from our engineers, and 20 minutes for the end of the day on Thursday, like, oh, we got the bids back, here's what it is, and we get this on the agenda because we have to have the contracts all approved and everything by May 30th, and we were impression that it was June 30th, otherwise we wouldn't have set the bid opening for, so, we wouldn't have created such a tight timeline. But, luckily we were able to get it on the agenda for tonight so that, get the motion approved and then move on with the resolutions that go to council and get the, contracts back, have the attorney approve, review them, get that accomplished so that we can get this done before the 30th, so that we can acquire the funds from the DNR.
Questions from commission members?
One question, one comment. I'll go with the comment first. I appreciate Strand Associates, paragraph 3 from the packet that states Strand Associates, Inc. has previously worked with Five Star Energy Services LLC on a project for the city of Stoughton, Wisconsin. For that project, the owner determined Five Star Energy Services LLC to be responsible. Based on recent history in the city, I very much appreciate that paragraph being in there, that it's not simply lowest bidder, it's also that it's a responsible contractor. The only question is this 100% funded by the DNR, or are there any city matching funds that have to go to this?
Not 100% funded. The way that the funding works now is different than in the past. They ch- So, it's based on, it's different amounts based on the census tract. So depending, like a lower income part of the city, they get 100% funds from this DNR. But other ones only get 75% or 50%. So we will need to establish a way to cover those additional costs, because it has been our goal to, number one, improve all the lit services. But also number two, to do it at no cost to our customers. We don't a substantial amount of money, of $6,000-7,000 per service. And so far we've been able to do that, and we will have some further discussions on how we are able to use, like, we have 1.37 million in our reserve fund. But we can't just go, because it has rules about the utilities money being distributed not evenly across all, so it's against their rules to say, well, this person gets 100% and this person only gets 50%, so we're gonna cover that over 50, right? We're not treating the customers the same. So, we're working on a plan on how to work through that so that we can, fund it completely. Utility, we have the money to do it. We're going to have more conversations in the future with you all here, to help us figure out how we are gonna accomplish that.
We have a ballpark estimate
yeah,
of this,
it's,
I got this round, it's almost $7.8 million we're talking about total, right?
So, the amount that we will need, that's not covered by our grants and things, is 1.25 million. I think the 2 million for the private, for the public side. Are in the budget. Don't want to budget that. With the 75% coverage and the 50% coverage. So one is 279, 281, and one is 972.
And this will be for how many? All of the remaining laterals in town?
None. Yes, this project's gonna take 3 years. We're starting with the ones that are 100% covered, which is, about, it's about 850 of them. So, you know, that'll get us through this whole first year. So you do have some time to rest of it.
Other comments or questions, please?
I have a comment and I do have a question, but so you have 1,487, those are the remaining ones? The remaining lead service lines would be. So I know this has been a multi-year project, so it's good to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Let's put it that way. So,
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is Prentice Watertown, this started before I arrived here like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But this is a very important time. We're doing. We found a way, it was done. We've already done 700 of them.
Yeah.
Third of the way there.
so my question is on page, well, since this is in our packet in two places, I printed off the page 7273 from our packet, but in that they have current and previous projects by Five Star Energy Services, LLC. Quite an impressive list, a number of cities across the Midwest here. But looking at that, I count there are 32 projects that are going on right now, at least during the time frame that we're looking at potentially starting here. So my question is about the bandwidth. Do these guys have the capacity to?
We asked the same question to Strand,
Thank you.
and they assured us that they do.
Okay, good.
Pretty big.
Thank you.
All right, please.
No hesitation in the bid opening. They were 20% lower than the next bidder. They were still comfortable with their bid.
Once we asked Strand if they'd worked with them before, somewhere local, and I know the manager over in Stoughton, and I know when they did their service program, I didn't know what their contract was, but I know they were happy with them and the work they did, so.
Sometimes,
Once we got that clarified.
sometimes guys start scratching their head saying they missed something if they're 20%
Right,
low.
That's always.
Yeah.
I won't say red flag, but it's always something that does. Should have didn't miss something too.
Well, they make it up in volume.
Other questions? My comment is it's a huge commitment. I realize that the path may have started, but the path at that point didn't necessarily carry this anticipated level of cost because the funding formula was working differently. We knew there would be some cost for the city, but I'm not sure that people had in mind that we were doing $1.25 million worth of cost in the next 3 years. So,
Yeah, I mean, technically our ordinances do state that this could be on the customer. The additional.
oh yeah, I know.
So that, like I said, that is something we will all have to talk about and decide what level.
Good.
Funding, but
I think I'm making the comment more to my fellow alderpersons. In the grand scheme of looking at the budget for 2026. And for other things going on right now, where funds may be available from other sources. We need to be looking at this kind of thing. As to,
Absolutely.
this is a future commitment that we'll need to make. So I'll have my own personal heartburn if we were to try and pass the cost on to the consumer. Because that was one of the original 700
Me too.
oh,
that I
will.
I would not be cool with my having gotten it and others not.
Right.
Right,
that
and
wouldn't-
like I said, it is, you know, that's our goal, it really is, because, you know, I mean, most of them didn't have anything to do with that. lead
Right,
service
yeah,
line, and it's a health risk to the entire community, right? So, while maybe there's a lot of people that don't have a lead service, getting it out of our system entirely.
Yeah.
It helps everybody, you know, we're going to be able to fund this without. It's not going to be the cause of some rate increase or, you know, we're just gonna. Allocate the funds now and do something else a year later or something like that, you know? Should be able to get it done at no cost to the customer.
I'd also like to say, I think, again, just going from my own personal experience, there's a side benefit to the system that's not only removing the lead out, but I know in my particular instance, that was also a leaky pipe.
Oh, sure.
We were losing water.
Yep.
Meaning we, the city, were losing water
Mhm.
before it got to my house.
Oh, absolutely, I'm
And-
sure we're gonna find more of them
Yeah.
that we're just not aware of.
So there's a little side benefit.
Absolutely.
It's also a feather in the cap for the city to be able to say, we don't have lead laterals servicing our homes. We are 100%
Yeah.
lead free, because I know it's lead paint in the Milwaukee schools, but you know, the lead paint thing in Milwaukee, lead paint's been banned for what, 60 years now? And they're still having issues with it, and lead laterals have been around for how long? So to be able to say, hey, we don't have this in our city, it's a selling point for the city.
All right, any other comments or questions from commission members?
I have a comment on the wording of the resolution.
All right.
We want to need a motion to even discuss it, or
Can,
Yes, let's
what
get the
page is the resolution on? Just so it's easier to get to.
I have it on page 215.
15%.
The bids got in there
Alright.
twice and it made it.
So do I hear a motion on the recommendation? And we can make adjustments to the language,
Make a motion to approve.
right? And a second? All right, Mr. Thompson, please.
So the last line says there will not be a funding account to charge said money to, as the SDWL award yet to be received from the state of Wisconsin will be funding this contract. It would seem counterintuitive to say that's true. If we're also having to obligate the city for $1,200,000.
Yep. Seems partially funding the contract. Although we are expecting this first year's portion, but yes.
I read that as at this moment, there's not a funding account because we have not yet received the money from the state. And that funding account would be, I understand what you're saying, that it's
Yes.
counterintuitive because
Yeah.
it's implying that we're not funding it. However, we are funding it and a portion of it. And I think it's just the wording, I think you're correct. The wording needs to be changed somehow.
So if we were to read, for example, a funding account will be designated once the award has been received from the state. Because then we'll know what we're getting, what we're not getting, and
Funding, I think adding for the city portion.
Yeah.
Funding account for the city portion.
Right. Funding account for the city portion of cost determined award received from state of Wisconsin. So again, I'm suggesting the language is, change last one, say, last sentence will instead read a funding account for the city portion of the total cost will be determined once a SWL award has been received from the state of Wisconsin. That
Yeah, that's fine.
clear for everyone?
Yep.
Yep.
Do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
As a seconder, do you also accept? Any other comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call on this. Mr. Blanky.
Aye.
Marks.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Moldenauer.
Aye.
Yes, as well. That's 5 yes. The motion carries. There being no other business before this body, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 5:06. Gentlemen,
Thank you.
you?